to share his own testimony, his own walk, his own journey as our brother in Christ, Teddy Garrison. All right, thank you, Teddy. Ahead. Give him a big round of applause. Woo! So thanks for bearing all that you're going to do, right? And being transparent with us, because that gives us permission to be true and transparent as well. So thank you ahead of time. And we're praying for you. And don't leave out the good stuff. Yeah.
How many times are you going to doubt yourself? How many times are you going to repeat the same mistakes before you finally experience enough pain that you want to make a change? How many times? How many times you gonna tell yourself you giving up? How many times you gonna write it down then rip it up? How many times have you invested in luck? You find that penny facing heads down, will turn around and flip it up. Don't you believe in the fake, believe in your faith. Now watch how everything just seems to fall into place. And you ain't even gotta try, it's like you win in the race. Cause every time you praise his name, you'll be receiving his grace. Embrace, now keep me from the wicked, protect me from the snares, and help me spread this message to anybody who cares. Cause I done wrestle with them lions and tigers and bears. I'm wearing the armor of God, intruders beware. How many times have you prayed in the name of? How many times have you shown in the same love that he shows to you? How many times? How many times? How many times have you prayed in the name of? How many times have you shown in the same love that he shows to you? How many times? How many times? How many times you gonna lie to yourself? How many times you been denying yourself? How many times? How many times? How many times you looked inside of yourself and you're ashamed of what you see, but you don't ask for no help? You'd rather drown in misery and take that rum off the shelf. You pour another shot and blame it on the hand you were dealt, but you're forgetting about the pain that all your family felt while you were running in them streets like a slave for a bag of dope. Your parents worried that their baby might not make it home. They lie awake and they wait and they crying by the phone, praying that they don't get the call that the baby is gone. I know it hurts, but everything that I'm speaking is true. I only say it cause I know it, I used to be you, but I done made it and I'm grateful I'm one of the few. Now I'm headed back just to say that you can make it too. How many times have you prayed in the name of? How many times have you shown in the same love that he shows to you? How many times? How many times? How many times have you prayed in the name of? How many times have you shown in the same love that he shows to you? How many times? How many times? It doesn't matter how many times you fail. It doesn't matter how many times you almost got it right. People aren't going to keep track or care about your failures, and neither should you. It's more important that you learn from them, that you grow from them, and that you keep pushing forward, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many times you got it wrong. What truly matters is how many times you get it right. It doesn't matter how many times you've been beaten down. It doesn't matter how many people believe in you now. All that matters, you believe in yourself, cause there's a reason that you're breathing and it's keeping you round. And everything that you've been going through is part of a plan. But I know it's hard to trust it and you can't understand. Believe me, we crash and we burn, we live and we learn. If you could only see the blessings that we get in return, you'd be like, I shine through the storm and the struggle. Hard times when I know I'm in trouble. I'll rise through the ash and the rubble. How many times have you prayed in the name of? How many times have you shown in the same love that he shows to you? How many times? How many times? How many times have you prayed in the name of? How many times have you shown in the same love that he shows to you? How many times? How many times? How many times? Never give up on yourself. Stop doubting yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will either. As long as you have air in your lungs, you still have a chance to get it right.
Morning, everybody. My name is Teddy, and I am an addict. I'm going to share with you today my life story in a brief nutshell. I'm going to leave a lot out, being we are in church. First of all, I want to say thank you to the church for allowing me to do this, to Pastor Beth and Scott for asking me if I'd be interested in doing it, and to everybody who came for support. So some of the things I'm going to say are going to probably hit home to a lot of you. You may cry. I probably will. Don't mind that. But my story starts in November 30th of 1984. I was born and raised in Centerville. I was supposed to be a twin. My twin died in the womb. As I was coming out, the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, and the more I came out, the more he strangled. So he did not make it. I lived in Promise City until I was about 4 years old, maybe, when my brother was born. I am the oldest of 9. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old, which is where my life really started. At first, we lived with my mom for a few months when she realized that 4 kids was just too much for her to handle while trying to live in addiction. So then we went to my dad. So in 1982, I was 8 years old. My dad worked 6 days a week from sun up to sundown. He was never home. The only day he was home was on Sunday mornings. He'd wake us up, send us off to church, free babysitter for him. By the time we got home from church, he was either passed out or at the bar. So we never saw him. At that point in my life, I became what I felt like as the parent. So it was my responsibility to take care of my little brothers and sister. My dad struggled with alcoholism all his life, still does. So, every day he would wake up, and when we did see him, the only time I saw him was when I was getting beat. The way he looked at it, somebody messed up, somebody needed punished. I couldn't stand to see my brothers and my sisters get punished. So half the time, when somebody would ask, hey, what happened? Who did this? I'd raise my hand. That was me. So I would take their beatings. And that happened for years and years and years. I looked at it as long as they weren't getting it, it was okay. That's what the big brother is supposed to be for, protection. After a while, I started getting resentful for that. I felt they were taking advantage of me. Hey, we can do what we want. We're not going to get beat. Our brother will. So I started to withdraw from them, not wanting to play with them, not wanting to go places with them. And I harbored anger. For most of my life, I was an angry person. In 1991, I had a brother born with SIDS and all kinds of other things. He had to live in the hospital for the first 6 months of his life. He couldn't even eat. He had to be fed through a tube. When he was about 7 months old, he started eating out of a bottle, finally. One time I was at my mom's for the weekend, and she left wherever she went, leaving me at home with 5 younger brothers and sisters. I was only 7, maybe, 8. I fed them all, got them all to bed. I was in my room playing video games. My little brother, who was sick, I gave him a bottle. I propped it up with a pillow so he could drink it. I went to my room, played video games, fell asleep. Woke up the next morning to cops everywhere. Ambulance, fire truck, whatever. Didn't know what was going on. They wouldn't let me come out of the bedroom. Later to find out my brother had suffocated on his bottle. I didn't know he was too young to not pull it out of his mouth. So for the rest of my life, pretty much, until I got into recovery, I blamed myself for his death. Then I started looking at myself, how can I protect the rest of my brothers and sisters if I killed my own brother? The second time in my life that I felt like I'd killed a sibling. If you remember back to my twin who did not make it out. So at the age of 8, alcohol and cigarettes had become my best friend. It was very easy to get a hold of, being my dad had alcohol in the fridge all the time, so I just take it and drink it. After a while, I became numb to the beatings. They just happened. I'd go about my business. I always wore long sleeves. Through summer, didn't matter. Because I couldn't, I didn't want anybody to know what was going on at home. From 1996 to 1998, I was in junior high. I was fighting people every single day. My brother would come to me like, hey, this guy's picking on me. So I'd go take care of it. Or some guy would be messing with my sister, so I'd go take care of it. Being kicked out of school on a weekly basis. Drinking every day, I would take alcohol to school in my backpack. Although, I was drinking and smoking cigarettes, I was a very smart kid, so my grades were still up. I was one of the highest in my class. I still had no release for all the pain inside, so at the age of 12, I started cutting. Still have scars to this day from going too deep. But as the way I looked at it, the cutting helped to numb the beatings that just never stopped. In 1999, when I was 14, I moved back in with my mom, leaving my brothers and sister with my dad. 9th and 10th grade, I lived with my mom. I was on the honor roll. I was a class president. I was not involved in sports or anything. I barely went to school. But when I did, I was very smart, so I didn't feel like I needed school. When I did go to school, I had vodka in a water bottle. I'd skip class, go into the bathroom, smoke marijuana, pop some pills. Freshman year of high school, pills became my best friend. It didn't matter what it was, I was taking it. Half the time, I didn't even know where I was or what I was doing. I was just there, taking up space. In 11th and 12th grade, I was in foster care. Somewhere in that time period, DHS had got involved with my mom. She was still in active use, never quit, so DHS removed us. I refused to go back to my dad's, so my two brothers and my sister went to my dad. My other two sisters went to separate foster homes. I went to a foster home. While in 11th and 12th grade, my foster parents got me into sports, as I later found out that I was a very good wrestler. My senior year, I was offered a full-ride scholarship to Iowa State to wrestle. I was on the honor roll, had a 4.0 GPA, and my life looked like it was going somewhere. However, I was drunk every single day. Sometimes couldn't even stand up and walk. 3 weeks shy of graduation, I dropped out of high school. The way I looked at it, I was 18 years old, I can do whatever I want. It was my life, right? So I left. In June of 2003 was the first time I tried methamphetamines. And I was hooked from day one. And patterns of up and down struggles in my life started. For the next few years, all I did was drink, get high, fight, whatever. Half the time I didn't remember any of it. In 2006, of December, I met my now ex-wife. I eventually went back to school, got my GED. We moved to Tucson, Arizona in 2007. We lived there a couple years, moved back in 2009. In August of 2010, on the 14th, we got married. 13 days later, we had my daughter right there. One of the happiest times of my life. For the next 3 years, I struggled with my addiction, hanging out with people I knew I shouldn't hang out with, while trying to live a hidden life at home. Doesn't work out trying to live two lives. It catches up to you. So in May of 2013, right before my second child, Jaden, was born, my wife at the time, she says to me, "You need to make a choice, family or your drugs." I was like, why can't I have both? So I chose my family, and I quit cold turkey. I had no recovery. I didn't do meetings. Eventually, we started going to church as a family. I did do a little bit of celebrate recovery for a few years, but really I was only trying to fill that void that the drugs weren't there anymore. In September of 2014, we had our third child, as you guys know as Joe. Things still weren't getting better. Our marriage was falling apart, and I started to isolate myself away from the family because I didn't feel worthy enough to have them. So instead, I would hang out with my using friends, and my life was filled with anger. In 2015, we separated. I tried working on things, tried to save my marriage, not knowing by then it was too far gone. In 2006, we divorced. Or 2016, my bad. In 2017, I met Amanda. And after all the time, I immediately fell in love. Like, I thought that was my soulmate. After a few months, I realized we were completely separate people, had different parenting styles. She was an alcoholic and a bartender. At that time, I was almost 5 years clean. So I had no part in it. We had a mutual split in September. And then from September to the end of the year there, I stayed clean. I went to a New Year's Eve party on December 31st of 2017. I knew there was going to be drugs there. I knew there was alcohol there. I was testing my sobriety, as I put it. By the end of the night, I was no longer clean. From January of 2018 to June of 2018, I don't remember any of it. For 6 months of my life, it's just a blur. There was a lot of drugs involved, a lot of things that I'd done that I should have never done, put myself in positions that I should have never been in. A couple different times I was shot at. In May of 2018, I was in Kansas City, Missouri, and apparently somebody did not want me to be alive anymore and had a hit out on me. And a 14-year-old kid got shot instead. You would think that would be enough to make me open my eyes, but instead, I just kept doing what I was doing. It was my life, who cares, right? So in June of 2018, Amanda and I had gotten back together. We moved in together. I thought life was great again. At that point, I had quit again. Once again, no recovery, no meetings, no church. Just not doing it, which led to resentments and a hole in my heart. In November of 2018, on Thanksgiving morning, I got a phone call from my brother at 4 o'clock in the morning to let me know that my grandma had passed away. Prior to that, 6 months prior to that, in May, she had come to me, telling me she was sick. And she's like, "Teddy, I'm sick." And I was like, "Grandma, you're not sick, you're old." And she's like, "I need you to get clean. You need to stop using drugs." I didn't know what she was talking about at the time, but it later found out when it came closer to when she died, what she was talking about was she needed a blood transfusion. And I was the only one in the family that was compatible. When I found that out, I quit using again. But it was too late by then because my blood wasn't clean enough to give a transfusion. So I sat there and watched her die, knowing my blood would have saved her. With the guilt of feeling like I'd killed my grandma and not caring, I went back to the meth, and that's where my life spiraled out of control. I isolated, I had a hatred for the world. I really didn't even care. I was just there. So in spring of 2019, DHS came into my life again. I'd failed numerous hair tests. I was removed from my home numerous times. Still didn't stop me. Amanda had lost custody of her daughter. My visits with my kids were supervised only. Still not enough to make me quit. In December of 2019, I checked myself into Prelude in Des Moines. I didn't go there because I wanted to. I went there because I was forced to. 16 days later, I walked out. After I got home, my social worker had said because I did not complete treatment, he was going to China case Amanda's son. So, me being smart like I thought I was, if there's no kid, there's no case. His biological father lived in Colorado, so we drove him to Colorado. My interaction with my own children for the next year and a half was very sporadic. I'd pop in and out whenever I'd remember I had kids. And then when I was there, I didn't focus on them anyways. It was about this, about that, fighting with the ex, fighting with the current girlfriend. It wasn't about them anyways. I was just there. After walking out of treatment, though, in 2019, I did stay clean all the entire year of 2020 until October. I didn't have any recovery. I was just abstinent from drug use. I mean, I was working 3 jobs. My relationship was going good. I thought life was okay. I didn't need any recovery, even though multiple people were telling me, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you go to an NA meeting? I didn't need that. I was clean. In September, or the end of August, I should say, my mom was sick. Nobody really paid attention. You know, my mom was sick all the time. On September 4th, she had a stroke. Made her brain dead. So on September 14th, I got a call from a doctor that said, hey, you're next of kin. What would you like to do? At that point, she had been on life support, full life support for 10 days. And I told the doctor, stop life support. Me and my mom were best friends. Everything I needed, I went to mom. She was an enabler with my addiction. She was a healer. She was my friend. Once again, I feel like I killed somebody in my family. This time it was my mom. At that point, I was 10 months clean. But I had felt like my life was over after that. I didn't have any purpose anymore. So I went back to the use, and I went back heavy. In October of 2020 is when I relapsed once again, not caring about anything in my life. Not my children, not my stepchildren, not even myself. All I cared about was how drunk or how high I could get and how long I could stay that way. A couple different times I tried, made an attempt to get clean. But once something happened in my life that I didn't agree with or something bad had happened, I'd run right back to the drugs. So in May of 2022, Amanda and I had split up after 4 years and 11 months. I ended up in the streets being homeless, bouncing from couch to couch, from place to place, sporadically popping in to see my kids. Whenever I'd remember that they were there or I felt like I was clean enough to go there. May 14th of 2022 was my first suicide attempt. I had a gun, I loaded it, I put it in my mouth, I pulled the trigger, and nothing happened. So, me being angry, not knowing what happened, I kept pulling the trigger over and over and over and over, and nothing happened. Popped the bullets out, put different bullets in, walked outside, pointed it at a tree, and it fired. Obviously, wasn't my time to go. Just over a month later, on June 18th, which was Father's Day, I seen my kids for maybe 5 minutes before they left to go somewhere else because I wasn't in their lives anyways. Later that night, I tried again to kill myself by hanging myself. I was standing on this table that was made out of reinforced titanium steel. Supposed to be able to hold up to 10,000 pounds. I made it weight 180. As I was putting the rope around my neck, the table collapsed. Then I hit the ground, and I was just like, whoa, how does that work? So I just went about my life, continuing to get high. On July 4th of the same year, I tried again. This time I used pills. I figured if I ate enough pills, I would never wake up. Again, did not work. I just woke up sick for a few days. All that time, I was on probation. At that point, I went to the PO. He never dropped me, so I didn't have to worry about being clean. In August, I stopped going to see my PO. Didn't see him again until February or March of 2023, actually. But during that time, he had revoked my probation, put a warrant out for my arrest. So not only was I homeless, but I was on the run. So I only went out at night. And then when I did go out during the day, it was, I was dressed. It didn't matter, hoodie up, sunglasses on, beeline to where I was going and beeline right back. I slept outside for a majority of the winter. Everybody knows how cold Iowa winters get. I slept outside a lot of them. Freezing, hungry, alone, hating life, wishing that I could die, but I felt so worthless. I had tried 3 times, and I couldn't even kill myself, so I couldn't even do that. In January of 2023, I had had enough, and I was tired of just existing in people's lives. So I was going to try suicide attempt number 4. I got another gun, and I went up onto the Centerville Square, and my plan was just to shoot somebody. That would get the cops up there. Make them take me out. The day I chose to do it was a Friday night. In Centerville on Friday night, there should have been hundreds of people up on that square. Not a soul in sight. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just shoot out a window. That'll get cops up here. So I shot out a window, cops didn't come. So again, I had that thought. I was like, man, why can't I even do that? Am I such a failure that I can't even end my own life? January of 2023 was the worst, darkest time of my life. I mean, I was alive, but inside I was dead. I mean, my soul was just dead. 4 different times I tried to end it, couldn't do that. So I was lost, and I felt so alone. In February of 2023, I was tired of just existing and feeling so dead inside. I signed myself into Oak Meadow for treatment. So at this time, I'm going to have Pastor Scott play a song.
I know it broke your heart the day I started using drugs. I'm sorry that your love for me was never quite enough. I'm sorry that I ran away when things were getting tough. But let me clarify this for the ones who feel the need to judge. You ever love something so much you gotta have it, so you use it every day until you start to form a habit. Then before you knew what happened, you were suddenly an addict that just wasted half their life, and every dream they had was shattered. And now you're feeling hopeless and you're broken and you're battered, cause the dope that you've been chasing is the only thing that mattered. You've tried to break the cycle and you've tried to break the pattern, but the hole you dug yourself is way too deep without a ladder. And I wish that I could take it back, wish that I could take the pain, wish that I could get on track, wish I wasn't so ashamed. Need to just accept the fact that I'm the only one to blame, and straighten up my act so I can go ahead and make a change. I'm sorry that I let you down, I'm sorry you don't understand. Even if I never make it out, I love you to the very end. Well, I just checked into this treatment, and I'm hoping deep inside that I'll last longer than the weekend. It's usually the time it takes for me to wanna leave, and every fiber of my being says to play with all my demons. So give me something different, give me something to believe in. I surrendered and accepted I'm defeated and I'm beaten, but no one ever told me it's the secrets I've been keeping. As I sit alone and isolate, I barely speak at meetings, cause my heart is full of hurt and hate. How could anyone relate? No one really cares about me, I should go and hibernate somewhere by myself where I can constantly replay the tape of how I messed it up again, and now it's probably way too late. I have a therapist that says I need to open up, but really I'm embarrassed, so I tell them that they know enough. Until I get the strength to share, I'll just keep showing up and praying that I'll change. I guess it's all a part of growing up. I'm sorry that I let you down, I'm sorry you don't understand. Even And it's been years since I got high, I guess I'm moving on. I finally got it right, but not before I got it wrong. I wish the same for all my friends, but most of them are dead and gone. I have a family now and even got a couple kids, but I don't hide my past or all the crazy things I did. I share it openly and try to raise awareness on the dangers of addiction when you're young and you are careless. Cause it could be your family, be your friends, or be the rest of them. It could be a stranger passing by, you see it's just a bum. But if it happens, don't you dare think any less of them. I'm here to let you know sometimes it happens to the best of them. Yeah, I'm here to let you know sometimes it happens to the best of them. So if it happens, don't you dare think any less of them. I'm here to let you know sometimes it happens to the best of them. Sorry that I let you down, but I'm hoping now you understand. Even if I never make it up.
So that song Corey played for me while I was in treatment. I had had enough. I didn't feel like I needed to be there. I wasn't going to change anyways. His program was going to fail me, and that's what I told him on day one when I walked in. It's like, well, let's just get it over with. It's going to fail me anyways. He's like, well, I'm not going to stop you from leaving. You brought yourself here. You want to leave. Go for it. But what I want you to do is sit down and watch this video for me. That was the video he played. That day, something clicked in my life. And that's where I made a change in my life. 7 months and 17 days ago is when I checked into Oak Meadow. And I haven't turned back since. I graduated on March 14th. I left Oak Meadow and went straight to jail. I had to pay them consequences for the violation of my probation. However, that 15 days that I did there, because I did 35 days in treatment, they counted that as time served. So I only had to do 15 days. And I used that as a safety blanket before I went back to the real world. I left jail and started staying with somebody who was in active addiction. I was not working on recovery. I did not go to meetings. I was just abstinent. For the next 51 days, I could feel myself slipping back into that depression that I worked so hard to get out of while I was in treatment. I started to feel alone and abandoned, let down, and I started to hate myself for making the choice to go there, but at the time did not know what to do. So on May 13th of this year, I made a call to Greg and asked if I could move into the Oxford house. His response to me was, can you follow rules? I just kind of laughed at him. I was like, yeah, I can follow rules. He's like, okay, I'll see you when you get here. I was there a few hours later, which is where I still live. For my recovery these days, I go to about 10 to 15 meetings a week. NA, AA, church, Bible studies. I try to help other people. I try to be a role model. I am involved in my kids' lives. I get them every other weekend. I'm allowed to see them whenever I want to. I call them every day. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes at night, sometimes both. All new things that I'd never used to do. Before, I used to tell them, okay, I'll call you this day. That day never came. Or yes, I'll come over this day. That day never came. Nowadays, when I tell my kids I'll call them, they know I'm going to call. And then when I don't call, I think they understand that maybe it's because I'm at work or I'm at a meeting or I just gone to bed. I don't think they're worried that I'm out doing something stupid or that something bad happened to me anymore. I've also gotten into being a parent partner. I just got my certificate for the biggest training of the program this week. My goal is to give back. That is the journey I'm on. I've caused so much chaos, so much destruction in life throughout the years that I can never take back, that I will have to live with for the rest of my life. However, these days I strive to be not that person anymore. I don't like to see people struggle. So if I can take what I've been through and help somebody, that's what I'm going to do, which is what the parent partner is for. For those who are in the system with DHS and don't know how to do it. don't know what's going to happen, how to handle it. I can use my experience that I went through as a child, as an adult, with my own kids, my own case, and help them through it. I'm a member of the Camel Club. I come to church every week. I've built a recovery family. All things that I've never done before. In and out of treatment or in and out of recovery for the last 10 years. I never worked a program. I didn't work on any 12 steps, which is why it never worked. There's a saying that gets said all the time in our meetings: if you're not working on recovery, you're working on your relapse. I, however, am not working on a relapse. So throughout my life, all these people that I felt guilty for, that I had killed, and 4 different times I tried to end my own life. Coincidence? I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences. What I do believe in is that my higher power, which I choose to call God, saved me. That is direct proof that a higher power was at work. And with that, I have a life verse that I try to follow these days. And it's Isaiah 43:1. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. Thank you.